Awesome.
So I was thinking about this earlier today and about how sometimes we do classes that are like about like maybe you need help with sleep, or maybe you need help with, I don't know, anxiety or something super specific. I'm really excited about this class because this is everyone needs this class, right? This is one that it doesn't matter if you have a body, you need to have the right tools ready to grab to deal with first aid situations. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like it's in those emergency situations where we tend to fall back on the old habits because
That's
we're
so
not,
true.
yeah, we're not prepared with our new super awesome tools, and therefore you're grabbing because you're kind of the adrenaline is high, the kid or you are screaming, whatever's happening, right, the animal, whatever it might be, and we just kind of grab for what we know. So it's really important to have a first aid kit that is built with all of your natural tools, that has you set up for success in those times when you just need your brain to go to, reaction. And here's the thing that I love though. Not only is this a really cool class that we all need in our life, but we have it being presented by our amazing partner, Miss Susan Velazquez, who has not only a background as a nurse and not only a mother of 5, but a mother of 4 boys. So I'm pretty sure in the whole universe of who you want to ask for first aid advice, although I will say her boys are not very clumsy boys. You have some pretty mild-mannered boys in the world of like when people picture boys, jumping.
Yeah, we're not big risk takers either. So
yeah,
like,
they're not quite the
we don't fall out of trees and things like that.
There's not a lot of broken arms happening. Well, I don't know, actually. You had
Yeah,
quite a year.
say, we had an
like, wait a minute.
last year, but yeah.
Barring last year. But like if I'm looking for someone to get first aid advice from, I'm going to go to my natural solutions using nurse friend, parent of 5 with 4 sons. And that's what we're getting today, right? So you have all of the what's the word I'm looking for? All of the background that is needed to be the authority on this particular topic. So with that, we're going to go through it, right? So Susan, you're going to break down
ready.
What we need, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love Leslie saying in the chat, she checks all the boxes, right? So I'm excited because my first aid kit needs a replenishing. I feel like I sometimes like you use something up and you forget to replenish it, you forget to put it back, and then you're like, oh, you go to grab it and then it's a whole thing. So I'm glad that you're doing this because this is going to get me excited and inspired to like rebuild my whole kit and get it all back together. So super happy that you're doing this. Thank you so much for
You're very, very welcome
in this.
And this is the time of year, right? Like it's the perfect time right now.
Mm-hmm.
And especially where we are in life, where everybody really wants to get out and do something, right? It's the perfect time to do an inventory of your first aid kit, your go bag, whatever it is that you take with you that needs to have all your solutions in it. Now's the time to go through it before you're out and realize, oh, I don't even have half my stuff in there anymore. Because that was my situation after a year of lockdown. I dug in. I was like, ooh, a bottle of On Guard sitting in my first aid kit. Well, that's coming out. We need that now, right? So now I have to go back and see what came out and didn't walk back in by itself and things like that.
Exactly. I think I did the same thing. I purged it. I robbed it.
I kind of felt like I pirated it,
Exactly.
It's like, oh, that
pillaged. There's the word, pillaged.
Exactly. Hidden stash that even I didn't know about.
Right?
Oh gosh. All right, so let's jump in. My name is Susan Velazquez. I think I know everybody who's here, at least through our classes. So thanks for joining us tonight. We are the Raven's Nest Essentials Collaborative, and my arm of that is Epiphany Essentials. And tonight we're talking about how to use our natural solutions to build a first aid kit so that you have what you need when you need it, and you're prepared for all the things that can come up with summer activities. Now, first, I always like to give disclaimers at the beginning. So first disclaimer is this is just for information only, right? And doesn't replace consulting with your healthcare provider. So if in doubt, make the call, make the visit, go in, get it checked out, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's also not exhaustive. We're not going through every single, I thought of a lot of things that could go wrong because I'm that kind of person. So we're not covering everything. And one of the big topics that we're not covering that I think is really important in the summer is water safety, because that's not necessarily something that we're going to use our oils for, but really need to be aware of because it's so important that we've got so much water around. Even in a landlocked state like New Mexico, you got water, and it doesn't take much to really have terrible, tragic things happen. So we're not going to cover that tonight. If you have questions about that, please let me know and I will direct you to the right place to find the answers, because it is really that important. All right, so here are the topics. I put out a little questionnaire in my group earlier this week to see what people were thinking were kind of issues. And what came back to me fit into these categories, and then I added one that I didn't get in this list, but it's sun issues, motion issues, everything skin. Skin is like the biggest first aid category. And then some muscles and bones, and then we are going to talk a little bit about serious emergencies and when do we, you know, what do we need to look out for? What do we do? Who do we call? That kind of stuff. All right, so let's start with figuring out how to use my computer. Forgot. I'm on this one where I have to click. Okay, so the first thing, and yes, this is my crew. That is actually all 7 of us. So my oldest son is in the back. That's me next, and my husband is in front of me. And then my 2 middle boys, my only daughter, and my youngest, who is 12. Crazy. So that is us off hiking somewhere. And we are the perfect example of like what not to do. Like I would not take my family on an overnight camping, hiking trip without some serious preparation, because we are just not that family. So like if we go on a hike, like, you know, a 4-hour hike for us is like not the norm. And so even that, like I'm packing some special things because, you know, we're out for 4 hours, and that's not typically what we do. We are not the most outdoorsy family, and yet we managed to get all the bug bites, scrapes, bruises, cuts, you know, whatever. So the first thing is use common sense when you're planning your summer activities, and don't be a weekend warrior. That's when people get hurt, right? Don't take on the big giant thing that you haven't been prepping for the last month, because that's when injuries happen, right? Doesn't mean don't do it, but it means do the prep, put in the time beforehand to be ready. Consider the age of your participants and also their conditioning, which is kind of what we're speaking to, and their skill. Like my family is not going to go on a rock climbing trip, just not going to happen. We're not there, right? And any one of my children is welcome to go acquire those skills, but I'm probably not going to be there with them. So, you know, that's all fine and good. So just, you know, think about, are you taking your parents who maybe are a little bit older? Are you taking little ones who are not going to hike for 4 or, you know, 6 hours, you know, whatever. I don't know if yours do. Good for you. That's awesome. Right? Look into the weather, you know, be prepared, those kinds of things. Pack for emergencies. If you've got somebody with a health condition and just being out for maybe a little bit longer than you plan is going to be a big deal, make sure you've got whatever medication, equipment, you know, whatever that you need. And of course, it's summer, water, 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 right? Like make sure you've got a water bottle for everybody and enough water to pack into wherever you're going and pack out so that it's going to last. You know, if you maybe need multiple water bottles, giant family cooler, you know, whatever you need. Water is the key, right? To avoiding a lot of the problems that we're going to talk about, or at least, you know, a portion of them. And they all fall right under this one, which is the sun, right? The biggest thing I think that is different, other than it's, you know, it's warmer, maybe we're wearing, you know, a little bit, we have a little bit more sun exposure because of the kind of clothing that we're wearing, because it's summer and that kind of stuff. But the sun brings some special challenges. Doesn't mean we don't wear our sunscreen in the winter, right? But it does bring some special challenges because we are more exposed and it's hotter. And all those water issues are that much more important. So first thing is sunscreen, right? We really want to look for a natural sunscreen. I have heard flutters of a rumor that maybe we might be getting some at some point. So we'll just leave that there. I won't say anything more because I don't know anything at all. But in the meantime, you can use the doTERRA baby diaper cream as sunscreen because it has zinc in it. And so we have done that, and I just kind of keep it away from my kids so they don't see what it really is, because some of them might not like that idea that it's diaper cream, but hey, it's awesome. And you can rub it in. So it's not like the stuff the lifeguards wear, you know, where you got white patches right here. You can rub it in. It's really great for faces. And there are some natural brands that you can find in the other forms of sunscreen if you need to look for that. So, you know, start there. Other is, you know, wear protective clothing, lots of sunscreen-ish type of clothing that has an SPF. And the more you cover, the less you have to worry about, right? So that's awesome. Wear a hat, all those kinds of things. Remember ears and the back of the neck. It's so easy. And even the back of your knees. Like if you're, you know, one of those people, yes, and your part, exactly, Leslie. And even if you're the kind of person who doesn't necessarily burn, geez, boy, I tell you what, there's nothing ickier than, my brothers were lifeguards. Sunburned ears are just so awful and excruciating, and they blister and they're horrible. So remember to get the sunscreen around the ear and the back of the neck and the back of the knees, all that kind of stuff. Lavender is the thing that is in my first aid kit, and I'm going to show you my kit at the end. It's a little bit, it's kind of serious, not so much because we are such outdoor people, which I've already confessed to, but because we have up until this past year done a lot of soccer, you know, that kind of thing, and just grabbing it and being able to have everything that I could possibly want in one kit in the car has made me so happy. So I always have a lavender touch and a lavender oil in my bag because I'm not quite sure how I want to use it. And so having it in both forms gives me that freedom to go either direction. I might want it kind of right here for allergy. If a lot of us have seasonal allergies in our house. So if one of us is kind of reacting to something, we can use it kind of right here, neck, chest, you know, area to use it aromatically. And we can also put it in our hands, use it that way. But I also love it for scrapes, for, well, we're going to get to skin later. So I'll talk about that later. Never mind. I'll stop right there. We'll stick to sun. But lavender is fantastic for if you're out and somebody's getting a little bit more pink than you thought they were going to, get them in the shade, cover them up, and get some lavender on that. And it's really going to be great. I did give you an after sun spray here. That is lavender, peppermint, and tea tree, 10 drops of each. You're going to put that in a 2-ounce spray bottle, or you can cut it in half, do it in a 1 ounce, and top it with either witch hazel or aloe vera juice, not the gel, but like the juice that you drink, you can use as a carrier for that. Very, very soothing and nice for your skin. And cool too, so that's good. All right. So, and of course, water, right? We've got a water bottle there because we're going to avoid dehydration that way, which is going to help us to avoid heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So, you know, that comes from just excessive, just overexposure, right? When we're out and about in the summer. So you want to be sure that not only are you wearing your sunscreen, your protective clothing, and your hat and all that good stuff, but just be mindful of the amount of time spent in the sun. And if you have somebody who is, you know, we're all going to sweat because it's hot, but if it's kind of that cold, clammy kind of sweating, that's not normal, and that can be an indicator of heat stroke. So, you know the signs. Lots of water helps, and just, you know, not overdoing it in the sun, especially if you're not used to it, is going to help to avoid those kinds of situations. All right, next we got to get where we're going, right? And so motion can be an issue, whether you're doing a car trip or if you happen to be lucky enough to be out on a boat, or, you know, those kinds of things. Motion sickness was a concern. So we've got really great and kind of simple tools. Like there's not too many things here because you don't need too much. I like to pack the drops, and we're going to talk about the other drops too as we go through this. But the ginger drops are great for motion sickness, as is the oil. And also the Digest Zen. So if one or the other is better for one of your kiddos or a family member, pack the one that works best for you, pack them both. I like to have the Digest Zen with us whenever we're out on a trip-ish kind of a thing, or a day trip kind of thing, because not only is it going to help with motion sickness, but it's also going to help with any digestive upset that comes around. And I know from my own experience, just having 1 drop of Digest Zen, tossing it in a water bottle when I've had stomach issues out on a day out when I just had to be out, that was enough. I'd even finished the water bottle, and that was enough to settle my stomach so that it wasn't an issue and, didn't have to kind of take over the day. So great tip. Another tip, which I haven't tried because we haven't been on a car trip since I learned this tip, but next road trip, I do have one. I used to get terrible motion sickness as a child. It's not so bad now, but I have one of my kids who really has a hard time being in the very, very back, minivan. And Digest-Zen in a car diffuser is something else that you can try for motion sickness. So next family road trip, that's coming out. And we'll see how that works for him. All right. Does anybody else have any other thoughts for motion sickness?
When I was traveling in Guatemala with doTERRA, we were going through very mountainous areas on a bus that was just, everyone was very sick. And one of the gals, I think I drank and consumed an entire bottle of Digest-Zen, but one of the gals told me to put Digest-Zen or peppermint, whichever I had, all on the outer portion of my ears,
That's a great tip.
and boy, it really helped. So I was just kind of like, girl, I will stick it anywhere you want me to put it at this point. And I was really surprised at how well that worked. And then Tammy, isn't there a pressure point in the ear too that you can use for, I'm trying to remember what it is.
Yeah, it's I think it's if you like kind of just where you hold where your earrings go, and you just do that, and then you just kind of give it a little pressure to the back. That's helps. Just
Yeah, I remember I took my earrings off. I was just like, I don't know anything, but it did help a lot. So just another place to put it, once you've exhausted the belly button and you've drinking all you can.
Right.
But that was an extreme circumstance, but they do work. And that car diffuser is a great thing. Have it in before people start getting sick. Just put it on. Don't wait until people are sick, because then it's harder to fight at that point.
Yeah, for sure.
they were also giving bands because you have a pressure point that's kind of like right underneath where your watch is. That's also good for motion sickness. That's an acupressure point there.
Yeah, and I've seen you can actually get those like just at Walgreens. Like it's not any place, fancy schmancy. They're pretty easy to get. I knew somebody who had morning sickness so badly she had to wear those to help with morning sickness. Yeah, that was before I knew about oils though. So all right. So let's move on then to breathing. Honestly, this surprised me because this was the one area that did not come up. And this is the first thing we think about when we go out, because we all have seasonal allergies. I would say at least half of us, most of my family has some type of seasonal allergy. So we're on something most of the year anyway, whether it's a Tri-Ease or, some combination of other things that I've been trying. But I find it really helpful to have, again, not the entire bag of breathe drops, unless we're like on a trip and I need to, pack for all 7 of us for multiple days. It's enough to have just a few stuck in my first aid kit, a few of each kind, and then, I'm covered. So the breathe drops are really great for opening up airways. And also the other thing that I kind of tucked in the bottom here is when we get hurt, especially for our kids, we can kind of have a tendency to go into a little bit of a mini panic attack and, kind of hyperventilate. And so breathe can also be really helpful to apply just in terms of that, like kind of let's calm down, keep the oxygen flowing and all that kind of stuff. Or a little wild orange and peppermint can also be great for that calming effect. My boys like to use breathe before sports. So either the breathe touch or the breathe stick is really helpful because it stays put. It's kind of like if a Vicks Vapor Rub, that's kind of like that texture without being petroleum and Vicks Vapor Rub. So you get all natural in the stick form. It doesn't run, which is really nice. It stays put. So those can be great and a good adjunct, for exercise before you're going to do something that requires a lot of exertion, that kind of stuff. Also, I have got to have something that has lavender, lemon, and peppermint in it. That's kind of my go-to. I do a roller in a 10 ml roller. I do 20 drops of each one, lavender, lemon, and peppermint. and mix that up. And we still take our stuff, because the roller by itself is not enough, but it is enough to kind of get through. If somebody's just got that twitchy throat going on, or the sneezes, or, whatever, the runny eyes, this can be really helpful to apply topically while we're out, and kind of increasing our usual exposure to the things that kind of get us going. So that's always really helpful. And, the peppermint, even just the peppermint by itself is going to be helpful if you have somebody who's, having some breathing issues, airway, right? Along with water. We need to get that oxygen in. All right. And obviously, kind of those special circumstances we were talking about earlier is, if you have somebody who has severe respiratory issues, you're not going to take them on the 4-hour hike, right? That kind of thing, if they're not in good control. All right, so skin was so big, I actually had to do 2 slides on skin, because skin covers pretty much everything else, right? Almost. Cuts, scrapes, bruises, more serious wounds, bug bites, it's all skin related, right? So I always have a hand sanitizer thank you so much, in my first aid kit, and the Terra Shield for the bug bites. And that has been huge for us. Even there's one in my first aid kit, and there's always one just on the kitchen counter, because we go out for walks, periodically throughout the week, and we live near the bosque. So we've got mosquitoes most summers pretty badly. And the Terra Shield is fantastic. It's so good. So that travels with me when we go. And then definitely a Correct-X. So Correct-X, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a triple antibiotic cream without the triple antibiotic, right? It's got all the natural goodness that's going to help heal and prevent infection with our oils in a base that is very similar to other products that you're used to in that way. It goes on under every bandage pretty much that goes on in our house. So again, I've got them stationed throughout the house because they walk, and there's always one in my first aid kit as well. And then we already talked about the lavender touch earlier for sun issues, but I like to have the lavender touch because that's my favorite simple solution for anything that's not open, right? So like a scrape, even a bruise, a bug bite. Again, lavender lives on the kitchen counter because, when there are bug bites, that's my go-to to get rid of the itch and help soothe it and help the skin heal. I like to also have a bottle, and you can kind of see these are not, true to size. I did the best I could adjusting the graphics, but there is a difference you can see between the lavender clove and the tea tree and that little bottle of helichrysum. And that's because those come in 15 ml bottles and the helichrysum comes in a 5 ml. I think when I redo my first aid kit, I have a lot of 15 ml bottles, and I'm going to reduce them all to 5 ml bottles because it decreases the weight. And unless you're going away with 7 people for 2 weeks, you really don't need a 15 ml bottle to go out on a hike or to have in the car or throw in for the soccer game or, whatever. 5 ml will save me a lot of just heaviness in the bag. So lavender for skin issues. Clove, I really like for splinters. This has been such a huge thing for us. I don't know what it is. I think, I do know what it is. We're outside and we're doing yard work, and we got a lot of old wood out in the yard. And so we're kind of getting rid of some old dead wood on our trees and doing some, just kind of yard maintenance that is involving a little bit of, low level woodworking and that kind of thing. We've had a ton of splinters, and the clove is great for that because it does 3 things. It cleans the area so it won't get infected. It helps with the pain because it might sting a little depending on how deep that splinter is, but then it goes away and it's soothing once that initial sting kind of goes away. And the other thing is it actually helps move the splinter out of the skin. It's kind of crazy the way it works. But like within even splinters that are like completely submerged under the skin, you can barely see it and you can't grab it with the tweezer. if we just put clove on it and give it, sometimes not even a day, but usually by the next day they're out, or they're out enough that you can then kind of grab it with a tweezer and get it out. So clove is my splinter go-to. Tea tree, of course, is going to be great for anything that requires a little cleaning, right? So I like to have that right in my bag. And helichrysum is my go-to for cuts. So if you have a bleeding wound, you want to clean it as best you can, put pressure on it, and just dribble some helichrysum right over that wound. And it really, really helps to slow down the bleeding and encourage healing of the tissue. So I always make sure that I've got one in my bag. Now, helichrysum is one of our, precious, precious oils. So maybe use the bottle, save the bottle that's got a little bit left in it. I want enough that I can drop it out. So like it can't be that last skinny little bit where you got to pull off the orifice reducer. It's got to be enough that you can drip it, and can drip it without, you want to be able to do it fast. So, not the last couple drops, but if it's got, the bottom covered, that's usually enough to keep in my first aid kit. Now, there's a few things that you're going to want to have in addition to your oils for wound care. So first is either a bottled water or, some type of clean water in, if you want to bring your own from home water bottle rather than a commercial water bottle, that's absolutely fine. But a clean source of water, that's been really helpful for us, not only for cleaning wounds, but even just for cleaning hands if you need to in a pinch, to have a little bit of extra water that's not, you're not reliant on it as drinking water is very helpful. Or you can use a saline spray. So what that looks like is it comes commercially prepared, or you can certainly, if you've got saline laying around, you can certainly throw that into some kind of reusable bottle. But this is a saline wash, and I like to keep that in my bag for cleaning things, cleaning anything that's, broken skin. And saline, because it's a salt solution, and it is just, it's basically what we're made of, right? Salt water. And it doesn't sting, and it does a good job of cleaning. So I like to have a little bit of that. Non-stick gauze pads, I may be completely out of them. That is one of my items that last year, when we did have an injury that required a significant amount of wound care, I think I used every single one. But non-stick gauze pads are fantastic, especially with your oils, because they don't absorb everything and they don't stick to the wound. So you don't have to worry that when you go to peel it off, you're going to kind of peel off that protective scab that's there that both hurts and, kind of get you back to square one, because now you're dealing with an open wound again. So those are really great. I also like to have, I call it strip gauze, but I think when you see it in the, drugstores, it's roll gauze. And I really like that as opposed to the 2x2 type of squares, because if you've got an area like an arm or a hand that is involved, it's so easy to wrap, or a skinned knee or whatever that's a little bit bigger than a Band-Aid can really cover well, or you don't want to stick something to the skin, you can wrap with the roll gauze, and that works really well. Even if you don't have tape, you can get it to kind of tuck. But the next item, of course, is surgical tape. You do want to have that. And a nice, of course, I have my old bandage scissors in my first aid kit. They don't have to be bandage scissors. They can be an old pair of kids' scissors, but to have some kind of scissor in your bag is a great idea. And tweezers for those inevitable splinters. The other thing that I should have added here that I thought of later and forgot to go back in and add it is a few pairs of gloves is never a bad idea. If you've got a, if you're taking a serious enough first aid kit, a couple pairs of gloves in there isn't a bad idea. All right, now.
Susan, can I ask a couple questions before you change the slide?
Absolutely. Yes.
The first one was mine regarding the splinters, because we had this happen just last week. How often are you applying the clove, and are you covering it at all or leaving it open air?
I don't cover it.
Okay, that's what I
just
figured.
leave it open.
And how often are you applying the clove?
As often as a child comes and says, Mom, it's still
Okay.
there. It's okay. But like we do it, if I can't get it out with the splinter and clean it up and be done with it, then I mean, sorry, not with the splinter, with the tweezers. If it doesn't come out with the tweezers, and then we kind of can move on to wound care. I'll put a drop on it and kind of let it sit there a little bit. I'll usually give whoever it is a Kleenex to kind of put in their hand or on top or wherever, so that they can catch the drips, but let it kind of sit on it a bit as long as they can tolerate it. And then of course, if they're like, nah, I need to, they need to get on with life, then just dab it off and let them go on their way. And then, maybe on a stubborn one, when it's taken more than a few hours for it to kind of make its way out, we'll put it on again.
Okay.
It's no, like it,
Okay.
don't overthink it, just throw some on there.
Yeah.
And then if they think of it, if before bed, they're like, it's still there, put a little more on. But seriously, like it has not taken more than 24 hours to get a splinter out.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
And then it's nice. The numbing is such
yeah,
a
exactly.
aspect.
And then you feel like too, whatever has gone in there with the splinter, that it's been kind of, cleaned as well.
Yeah. So the next one, Romelia is asking in relation to the helichrysum.
Yes.
The helichrysum touch, would that work the same as the oil in stopping bleeding? Yeah,
this is why I don't carry the touch. And the touch is great for intact skin or even a scrape, where the first layer and it's kind of raw. If you've got bleeding, you don't want to put the touch on it, right? Because you're going to get, it's just icky. Yeah. You know how I am. I can't even touch it with my finger, never mind blood, forget it. But you also want that dripping action, right? You want to be able to just drip it, and I use it straight. If something is bleeding badly enough that I'm thinking, oh, is this the time when we really have to go get the stitches? You want to be able to just drip it right in there. And the other thing, and this is like the key thing, and I forgot to type it in there, is butterfly strips. So when you go look in the wound section at any place that has bandages and of course Band-Aids, you want those too for the simple things. But I usually pack there's a ton of gauze in my bag when we go someplace. So when you're in that wound care area, look for butterfly strips. And what this is I meant to load a picture in so that you can see what it is if you've never seen it before. But it is a little piece of like a surgical tape. Mm-hmm. They have a little thin piece in the beginning, in the middle, and then it's like two squares. Think of like a dumbbell. It's like two squares with a strip in the middle. And the reason for that is so that when you have a wound, and picture my fingers are the wound, and so here's the opening, right? You're going to put a square here. You're going to pull it gently so that you have those edges together the way they're supposed to be, and then attach the other end over here. And it's like a taped stitch almost, right? Mm-hmm. And we are not like hardcore. I'm not doing sutures out in the wild, but those butterfly strips are really awesome. You can kind of get the same effect with a Band-Aid depending on the the wound, but the butterfly strips I think stick better, and you can kind of do them like here and here, or shape it. If you've got like a jagged shaped wound, you can kind of go around, however you need to keep those edges as well approximated as possible. So you want to get them like it's like a puzzle piece, put it back the way that it was supposed to be, and stick those butterfly strips on after the helichrysum. So helichrysum first, you've kind of cleaned it up a little bit, helichrysum on the wound, butterfly strips, and then a strip of Correct-X on top of that. Yeah, and what I do, and then dress it really well.
And once it's closed, not meaning with the butterfly strip, but like the wound itself is closed. The helichrysum touch is great for that, for scarring and everything. I think that would be a good
absolutely
that for
absolutely.
Sure. And the last one was just a great tip coming from Tammy. She's saying that she's been including the new On Guard wipes.
Oh, that is a great idea, Tammy.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
Great.
I didn't even think of that. I keep one a couple in my purse, but obviously when I put this together, we didn't have those yet. And I haven't been out and about enough to really kind of like incorporate them into my game yet. You know what I mean? I gotta work on that. But yeah, that's a fantastic idea.
Well, and they come in so handy too, just if your hands are dirty. So I only
They're
had a few
so nice.
that were
They're so
camping,
nice.
and we went through them because, you know, you're not always going to have water, you know,
Exactly.
well,
And sometimes the hand sanitizer just isn't quite enough because you got to wipe stuff off your hands and, you know, kind of get it off. And that's when, you know, if you can't have soap and water, the wipes are really nice for that. I was really impressed when I had them for a long time and I kind of hoarded them. And then I was like giving some out as like in a little sample bag for somebody. And I was like, I need to try those before I'm giving them away to people. And we were so impressed. I really liked them. So I've been keeping a couple tucked in my purse, but obviously such an obvious choice. And I didn't even think of it. Good call, Tammy.
Bromelia is saying too, which is so true. Like, you know, if you're hiking or you're doing something, especially with children or anyone, if you fall, you're also dirty from the, you know, so an abrasion, it's a great thing to use to clean an abrasion or a cut or just to get all the surrounding. I mean, sometimes you have to clean it up just to figure out where's the blood coming from.
Exactly.
Or, you know, what am I trying to see here? So they're a perfect solution for that because they have all that antibacterial. They're going to clean it. You don't have to worry. And yeah, that's a great, I'm excited about those. The more and more I've been using them, the more we like them. I was hoarding them too, just a heads up.
Like they were going to go away and they've only we've only gotten more of them, which is great.
I think I hoard things that are one use.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, well, once it's gone, it's gone. But now that we have them, yay.
Exactly. Oh, I just had another thought in my head and it went right out and I don't know what it was, but I'll get there. It'll come back to me. I have to stop thinking about it. Oh, I do know what it was. Owie spray. So I do have a recipe for owie spray. I didn't put it in here, but I can certainly share it at the end. I'll find it before we finish. And the reason why I didn't put it in here is you got to make choices about how much you're going to carry, right? We have got a solution for everything. We can put everything in a roller bottle. We can make it a spray bottle. We got all the tricks, but you may not want to carry every single thing when you're out and about and, you know, when you're thinking about what to keep in your first aid kit. So when we're on the road, I have used all the things that you see here, you know, as we've talked about, but certainly this is like when you're doing a first aid kind of a treatment, you're kind of putting people back together till you get them home, right? And so if you want to, you can absolutely carry a DIY, you know, owie or first aid kind of a spray that's going to help, you know, clean and kind of be like the, you know, the old Bactine, you know, if you were a 70s kid that we used to spray, you know, get sprayed on your boo-boos. We can certainly do that, make a DIY spray and carry it along if you like. And these bottles, I'm going to scooch my little cursor over. These bottles right here are gold for that kind of stuff. Use your hand sanitizer, get another one, and then save the bottle, rinse it out, or don't even rinse it out if you're making an owie spray because you want that on guard in there. Take that label off and, you know, relabel it, and you could put your owie spray in there. You can put it sun spray in there, you know, whatever kind of thing that you want to carry to have with you. They don't break. They're so sturdy. I think we still have like our original. There's so many floating around my house. It's not even funny. And I still buy them because I still have the day when it's like, the bottle's empty, just grab a new one, you know, kind of a thing. Even though we make our own hand sanitizer a lot of times. So it's kind of crazy. All right, so I think we covered everything on this page. So let's go to the next page. And what I have here, someone asked about bruising. So I have a bruise roller here. This can also go in a spray bottle. There you go, Miss Diana. You can also put it in a spray bottle if you like, and maybe up each one by a couple of drops because it's more volume. I like the idea of a roller because to me, if I'm going to spray it on a bruise, then I feel like I have to rub it in, which I know sounds really silly. I don't know why, but that's how I feel. I know we spray a lot of things so that we don't have to rub things in. Yeah, but for some reason on a bruise, I would feel like I'd have to rub it in. So I like the idea of a roller, but you can, you know, obviously put it in a spray bottle if you really want to. And I think I've already said this, but the lavender touch or a melaleuca touch as well, or the tea tree touch that we have now, both great for bug bites. So I always make sure I've got one, if not both of those in my bag as well for that reason. And there are other things we can use, right? You can use Purify in a bug bite, and that's great too. But I like to use something that I know has multiple uses, right? And it's not like I can't use Purify for other things, but I just feel like that lavender just covers so many bases that if I have to make a choice, that's the one I'm going to pick. All right. Any questions on skin before we move on to muscles? And I can't see the chat, so I apologize. Just hop in there. We're good? Okay, great. All righty. So now let's look at muscles and bones. I didn't put a lot here, which seems silly. There are certainly more things we can use for muscles and bones, but this is what I carry with me. I've got a deep blue rub. I do have a deep blue oil, which I forgot to throw that little guy on there. And then I carry lemongrass and copaiba because I like both topically for pain. I use a lot of at home, a lot of frankincense also, but I don't really want my frankincense tied up in my first aid kit. I really want that at home. So the copaiba to me is a good way of covering that base. It's great topically for pain, sprains, bump knees, all that kind of stuff. And I've also used like lavender and copaiba together on a bruise. If that's what you got, that's what you use, right? Now, in addition to your oils, it's a great idea to have some kind of a scarf or something you can use as a temporary sling. A bandana is usually not big enough to like sling up an arm unless you're a really tiny little person, but it can be enough to wrap around a bandage, right? To keep the gauze in place or things like that. So a bandana is a great tool, but something, if it's not like the kind you get at the drugstore, the little clothy ones that there really isn't much to them, even just a strip of something or a couple bandanas tied together can be enough to hold an arm up and in place if you needed to. An instant ice pack is a really great thing. Now, if you're traveling with a cooler and you got ice, then that's fantastic, right? But you can get these ice packs, and they make heating packs like this as well, where there's something in there that you pop and it makes it all, it's a chemical kind of a thing. It makes it all cold, but that can be a really nice thing to have. Like we're using this a lot for sporting things, for soccer games. So it's just nice to have it there, easy to quick, and I don't have to worry about, does anybody have a cooler and that kind of stuff. We already talked about use your 5 ml bottles, refill them if you need to, save them when you get them in those little kits that come with the 5 ml bottles. Save the ones that, are kind of wasted. Use 5 ml lemon. Everybody, we've got lemon, right? Save that little 5 ml lemon and put it in your to-go bag because it's tiny and you can refill it when it's out, and just be less to carry. Now, a reference book is a lot to throw in your first aid kit. Obviously, if you're out traveling, you might want to have one, but there's those little mini ones that we often will give with samples, or you might get with a sample. And if you don't have one, for sure, hit your wellness advocate up for one, because I got a ton of them. But they can be really great to just shove into a first aid kit so that you don't have to think, or, God forbid you're the one who's down, somebody else can grab that and go, oh my gosh, what do we do for, whatever. And that resource is there, right? The other thing that I have that I really like, and I'm sorry, I can't remember exactly where this came from, but I have these little first aid cards. So it's just like an oversized bookmark, and that is in my first aid kit that has solutions. And so all the oils that are on the card, I have in my kit to make sure that I've got, what we need. And, most of them are ones that we've talked about today. So that can be really helpful too. The other thing is, you could, if you were that person, you could make your own card inventorying your first aid kit and what to do with each thing. If you needed to have that prepared for your family, you could do that as well. All right, let's see. Instant ice pack. Oh, reference book. Pen. Why a pen? Well, I think a pen is an important thing to have, because if something happens of a serious nature, you might need to write some things down, right? Whether it is directions to the nearest hospital, or the time at which you noticed some symptom that now you're on your way, to go see somebody because you're kind of concerned. A pen in your first aid kit is just a good thing. Or whether it's, the phone number of the, guy who happened to be there when your kid fell down and I don't know what, and you need to get a hold of it maybe. It's just a good idea to have something you can write on and a pen or a pencil or whatever you like in your bag so that you can kind of record things. The other thing too is that sometimes when you are bandaging, if something is really bleeding, it can be helpful to mark a bandage as to, you know, how much it's bleeding. And so a ballpoint pen or a Sharpie can be used on bandaging, gauze, you know, that kind of thing. And then when you get where you need to go, because if there's enough that you're marking it, you need to be going, right? You know, that can be helpful to see over time, you know, kind of what's happened. All right. Any questions there?
What am I marking it with? The time or like
so let's
what
say
what am I writing on the bandage?
I started out and I got like blood right here on my gauze pad, right? And like 15 minutes later, you look and the blood is like out to here. So maybe we're going to just redress that, right? But like if you're deciding it's time, we're just going in, you might be marking it with a circle around where the stain is at that point and the time.
Okay.
And
thank you. That's
pressure,
helpful.
right? Like you want to keep pressure on it.
Yeah.
All righty. Next, there we go. All right, so since we're there, let's talk about what to do in a serious emergency, because things don't always conveniently happen when we're home, right? So the first thing is to take a deep breath, because you have to be the helper, right? And hopefully it's not you. And I say that only because you want to have somebody else in your family who can be calm and be the information person just in case, right? And you really want to not be doing big things where you're alone and you're the only one. All right, so first we always want to think of the ABCs: airway, breathing, circulation. That's like the first thing. So we want to make sure that somebody's breathing. The first step to that is their airway open, right? And for the most part, when this comes into question, people get really freaked out when somebody has a seizure, right? And that is an emergency if it's somebody who's never had a seizure before, or if they're having a big seizure that can be, you know, hard to watch because you feel like you should be doing something for them. As long as they can breathe, all you want to do is remove things in their environment that they could hurt themselves on. They should be, you know, lowered down to the floor, helped down to the floor if they're not already. I've seen this happen in like a Walmart, where someone started to have a seizure in the middle of shopping, you know, in a Walmart. So you just want to get them down to the floor, because then they can't fall, right? And so they're not going to hurt themselves in that way. You never stick anything in the mouth of somebody who's having a seizure. That is an old, you know, I don't want to say wives' tale, because it's not a wives' tale. I don't know where that came from, but you know, the old thing of like you don't put anything in their mouth. They just need to be breathing, and you need to let the seizure run its course. Hopefully they have somebody with them who knows if this is normal, not normal, whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's happening, and you just have to support them through it. And then they probably need to be seen by EMS, right? And so getting that going, having somebody stay with the person and somebody else activating EMS, making the call to 911 is usually what needs to happen. All right, so breathing, we want, you know, if somebody is breathing, even if they're unconscious, if they're breathing, that's a good thing, right? I added consciousness to circulation, because this is kind of like you know, do they have an airway? Are they breathing? If not, we're doing rescue breaths. Then we check circulation. Do they have, and you know, this is not all encompassing, right? If you've never ever been CPR certified, I absolutely highly recommend it, because it's just, you know, we are the first line when something like that happens. EMS has to get to that person, but as just living, breathing citizens, we're that first line of EMS. So circulation means, do they have a pulse, right? Or, you know, what's going on in terms of, is there bleeding someplace? Are their lips blue? You know, that kind of thing. But I added consciousness into that, because if you have an unconscious person who's breathing, that's obviously an emergency, right? We should all be conscious when we're out and about doing things. But, you know, you don't really have to do anything, like call 911, get EMS to them. But if they're breathing and there's no bleeding that you need to attend to, and they're safe, they're on the ground, or, you know, whatever, you want to get EMS activated, right? All right, so when do we call 911? When we're conscious, but we've had, something happen. If you can't stop the bleeding, or you just have a deep wound, like deep that it's like a puncture wound, like it's going to need to be packed. And the reason why that's important is because infection can happen deep, and if the wound heals on the top, but there's something infectious inside the wound, that's bad. And so a deep wound, or wounds that you just can't stop the bleeding, that's a reason to go in and have it checked out. Broken bones, obviously we need to go, right? Sometimes we don't know. I know this for a fact. Sometimes we don't know. And kids especially can really mask a broken bone. And so if you're not sure, if there's pain afterwards, when you feel like, geez, that bump should have kind of been done by now, or, excessive swelling, any other, sign of like they can't move it without extreme excruciating pain, take them in and get it checked out. It's always better to find out it wasn't than to not know that it is, and too much time has elapsed. So accidents, I think we probably have a better sense than we realize when something, a trauma happens, a burn or a deep cut or those kinds of things. I think you kind of know, right? Like you kind of know what you can handle on your own and what needs to go in. The other things that are really, really important to deal with right away are heart attack and stroke. And the reason for that is that the things that happen are really time dependent. And so getting someone to emergency medical services as fast as possible has a huge impact on their long-term recovery capabilities. So I threw in here signs and symptoms for the first stop is for heart attack. You can tell that by the tightness in the chest, right? And face is for stroke. I read another one very recently for stroke, and I'm gonna have to keep researching it because I couldn't find the article. I hate that when I find something like in a news article and then it's sort of lost forever. I don't remember where it came from, but I will follow up on that if I can figure out what it was that kind of recently came out as a thing that has kind of triggered. This may be another sign of a stroke happening when it's maybe not obvious. And then of course, head injuries. Now, when I was a kid, and probably when most of us were kids, you fell and bumped your head. And if you weren't bleeding and you weren't passing out, then you were pretty much okay, right? Rub it and keep on going. But today we know a lot more about closed head injuries. And so if there's any possibility of concussion, it's good to get somebody checked out. Any loss of consciousness with a head injury is a reason to go to the emergency room. And certainly, all of those other things and any combination of those things warrant, getting checked out for concussion. And then, like we said before, anytime you have someone who is unconscious, they need to be seen because that's just not a normal situation, right? There's got to be a reason why. All right, so, and who do we call? We call 911 because that's just the quickest way. It's, it's a good system, it's an efficient system, and it's just the best way. And if you're out, I actually knew of a situation where someone had a stroke driving out on a vacation, and fortunately they were able to pull over and switch drivers and get to the emergency room. That might be the fastest way, if you're already in the car, to get there. But 911 is usually what we're going to do to start that process going. All right, so let's move on then to references, and then I'm going to stop screen share and I'm going to show you my first aid kit because I just absolutely love this bag. So your first line of defense is your wellness advocate, right? So if there's a recipe you need, something that we talked about tonight that you want to know more about, for sure, reach out to your person, or you can reach out to me. I put my contact information there as well. We are absolutely happy to help you out there. My go-to is always Modern Essentials, and I have the app on my phone so that I can pull it up. Of course, if you're in an area where you don't have a phone, then that doesn't help you, but I like having access to basically the whole book, on the go. And then I have the little smaller booklet in my first aid kit. The Red Cross teaches first aid courses that are actually really good in terms of just sort of knowing what to do and how to respond if you're interested in that. My go-to for all clinical information that needs to be refreshed in my head is always mayoclinic.org. It's my absolute favorite. You can look up any condition, you can look up symptoms, and they have a really nice first aid section on just kind of like what to do. So that's a great resource. And then my bag came from Oil Life, which I'm gonna stop screen share now unless anybody needs to copy down or whatever, any of that information. So let me take this off. Alrighty, let's see here. Wow, I really didn't think that was gonna fit into an hour. Here we are, but I did. I know, right? All right, so let's see. I'm going to switch to gallery view so I can see all of you. There we go. All right, and I'm going to show you my bag. Let me see if I can get a light on here so it's a little bit brighter. All right, so this came from, this is like, can you tell that's my first aid bag? I was so excited. Do you remember, Carrie? We were at convention 2 years ago, and I was so excited when I found this because
I think we went back a couple times.
We did. I had to kind of talk myself into it.
Well, and they like would run out. And remember, we were
actually that's what it was. They had a sign up and they didn't have the bag, and we kept going back.
The small ones, but not the big one. And you wanted the big one. We hunted that thing down, man.
We really did. But it was so worth it. So it doesn't come with the oils, unfortunately, and I don't remember the price, but for what it is, it was very reasonable because it was loaded with bandages and gauze pads. I mean, it came with stuff, so that was very cool. All right, so I have pulled a few things out that are here on my desk because I was doing the class today, making slides, but this is the inside that holds the oils. So I'm just gonna hold it up so you can see. It has lots and lots of little bands to hold your oils. And then I use, let's see, where did they go? I took a bunch of them out. So here, like I have all my touches in one section over here. I do have a couple of kids rollers in there. The Rescuer is really nice. There's my Terra Shield there. Hand sanitizer came out because I was using that today. There's my pen and my tweezers. And so everything's all held in really nice, which I love. I love an organized space when stuff's going on, right? Now, my gauze section is really depleted because we did have a traumatic incident last year that required some mom TLC. But here, this is the gauze section. So it's got two parts. You can kind of look like there's the front part and here's the back part. And then the back of it is just black and it all zips up nicely and it has a handle. So all of my like gauzy stuff, my Correct-X is usually in there and a thing of roll gauze, gloves, and then you can kind of see that ice pack. This part zippers right here, and this part right here is open, but it's also double layered. There's pockets down here as well. So it is like the everything but the kitchen sink first aid bag. Now you may not need that much, right? I mean, like this would kind of be a lot. And it depends too on what we're doing. Because like when we travel, I have a lot of this stuff with me, but it's not necessarily in this. It's in a backpack that also has our vitamins and, you know, all the supplements that we use and that kind of thing. So there's like mom's doTERRA bag and it's all put together and everybody knows where to go to find, you know, their stuff. But these bags, which are like from the wellness kits, these come, this is a dark blue one. That's not really here. Let me show you this one. It's a little bit easier to see. I know a lot of us have already seen these, but for those who haven't, this is the sleep one. It's just a lighter color. It's a little easier to see. They come in different colors, so you could do them for different purposes because you do want to think about, like, I don't take that big bag with me all the time, right? I like to have it with me if I go to the kids' soccer games and that kind of thing, or to have, you know, in the car. And that is kind of dependent on time of year, right? So like now that it's so hot, I don't really want to leave my oils in the car. So I put them in like a cooler bag with an ice pack, or if you take a cooler chest with you, you can do that as well. So just make sure that your oils get kept at a nice temperature. But these are terrific. And if you put your oils in 5 ml bottles, or you make up a number of sprays in the little sanitizing mist bottles, you could fit a lot of stuff and some gauze and a pair of small scissors and, you know, all the things. You could fit a lot in one of these little bags. And then it's even got a little hook where you could put it, you know, hang it from a backpack, you know, with a little carabiner or something like that. and, make it accessible. Because here's the thing, if this is it's an awesome bag, but if that's too much and you're going to leave it in the car while you're hiking up the mountain, then you're not going to have what you need when you need it, right? So, think about that and what's realistic. And as much as you can kind of double up uses for things and sort of cut down what you have to carry in that way, then, you'll be more likely to keep it with you. And it'll be more useful because you'll have it with you, right, when you need it.
I've even seen them. I mean, mine is it's a
Right.
small hard case one,
Right.
and it fits like small sample drams of the oils
Right.
and only a little bit of stuff. But if you could use that to sort of kind of quick deal until
Exactly.
you get back to the car.
Exactly.
But I do like the one that you have, because while I agree in the winter or the summer, maybe not so great, it is insulated.
It's true. It is.
Insulated bag. So if it's like the shoulder season, not necessarily July in New Mexico, but if you're talking like March, April, May, and you put it under a seat or something, it would probably be fine. But that bag I was like, oh, I'll never use anything that bad. And then she got it, and we're back at the hotel, or actually the Airbnb, and I was like, I wish I got the big bag.
It was impressive how much stuff it came with. I have replenished it because we have used it. And I'll be honest with you, even at home, like I have a certain cabinet where we keep it. And so like the kids know if they can't find Band-Aids, like go get mom.
I was going to say, do you use that is that your at home? Because my little one is our at home.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I like you were mentioning that sometimes your oils are spread between two bags, or even in the house, they're spread around. If it's even, if emotions are high, it's nice if it's all in one place.
Yes.
So it's a smart thing to do. If you get about 50% down or 3/4 down in a bottle, stick it in your first aid kit, because it's nice to have it in one place, and you're not having to send people or think about, where did I put that? Who had it last? Or you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I completely agree.
You don't, it just and I like the pen. It's all about that sort of, it's all here, and I know where to grab it. And it helps to reduce that sense of things being out of control.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you were going to share the owie spray recipe.
I was. Thank you for reminding me.
I believe that Romelia said that she had a share. Am I correct on that, Romelia? Let me see here.
Let me get my video on.
Okay, good.
So that you guys can see. All right. So remember way back in the beginning of doTERRA world for us, I did this one class that was a first aid class. We're talking 3-4 years ago. And something that I came across at that time that I still use to this day is this little bitty plastic first aid kit that you can buy for $1. Like I have found it at Walgreens, at Target. I'm sure Walmart has it. I don't know. I don't shop Walmart, but it's $1, and it's from Johnson & Johnson, and it has all this other stuff in there. Well, the only thing you really need when you buy it is just the Band-Aids that come with it. You can toss the rest of the stuff because it has like some kind of first aid ointment or something or the other. So we have used this since then. And this is probably still from that time, 3-4 years ago. And this is a personal one. So this is like maybe, I don't know whose this came out of, Sarah's or Seth's, I don't know. They need to be replenished, but these are really great for backpacks whenever we do go on a short hike, like on a Sunday morning, 1-2 hour hike, not the 4-hour excursion kind of thing. I do have a backpack that lives in the van. A first aid kit that lives in the van that has, all the oils and all the goodness in there. But something like this has, trying to hold it up, it fits the little 5 ml bottles in there. This one has an owie roller in there so far, and sprains and strains, but it also fits the On Guard spray, a little deep blue rub, some gauze, and some Band-Aids in here. And look, this is really the big share. Look what I found. These are little spray glass bottles that you can use for travel. This even fits in the little doTERRA keychains if you stick it in there. lay it down,
Wow.
it fits. And you can, I mean, I'm looking at this for the after sun spray, for the owie spray, rather than the roller. I think these are super fantastic, and I've already used them for other projects, and they work really, really well. So that was my big find right here that I'm so happy about. And very inexpensive too. I'll share the link. I have to go back and look at somewhere on my laptop, but these were so, I love them. They're cute for one, but it's practical. They're portable. But something like this works really well for my kids to stick it in their backpack. And that way they have something that they can reach for themselves. And at least to hold us over if we ever need to get back to the van for the big stuff. So it's really easy, very inexpensive, and you can make one for all the backpacks. But yeah, I've had this particular one that long. And we just keep, replenishing it and adding new things to it all the time.
Do you remember, did you say where you think you got the sprayer from? Just like
it was on Amazon. I know,
okay.
and it was oh gosh, there's quite a few in there, at least 20 or something or the other in there.
Wow.
And very, very inexpensive. I'll have to find the link and give it to you guys, because I was just so excited to find those. They're just so cute and portable, but cute.
Well, and your backpack one reminded me of something that I'd heard when we were just doing research on traveling and hiking and being out and about. One idea too is to separate out so in other words, like if you took Susan's big first aid kit, you could make a cut and scrape first aid kit, a burn, and so you can spread the load out amongst your party, where each person has a more specific first aid kit in their backpack, that then you say, okay, who has the, and I mean, it's, obviously would it, don't go wandering because you're the one with the cut and bruise or whatever, but like it
That's a great tip though.
If you're hiking into a, to spread the load a little bit, to allow for that. But I love when my kids have the keychain size, but them having it allows them to then fix stuff that goes wrong. And, one less thing I got to worry about. So, the owie spray, Susan, you got that there.
I got it. Yes. And I also found a butterfly strip, so I could show you that too. The owie spray is 15 drops of frankincense, 15 drops of tea tree, 15 drops of lavender, all in a 2-ounce spray bottle topped with fractionated coconut oil.
And this just takes the hurt, the sting,
cleans it, soothes it. Yeah, all the things. And this is what a butterfly strip looks like. I'll hold it right in front of my hair, that way it's dark.
I was gonna say, put it in front of your hair.
Exactly, right there. So this obviously is the part that's going to go on your skin, and that's the part that's going to go over the wound.
I like those because also I hate how most Band-Aids have sticky all the way around the square.
Yes.
And so sometimes the cut is longer than the width. So you have to you don't want that sticky on your boo-boo, right?
Exactly.
So those little butterfly strips work great for keeping that, inevitable, don't tear it off moment from happening.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
This was amazing. Are there any questions? Does anyone have questions on anything or tips for what they're doing? Anything that you guys have? Miss Diana looks like she's reaching for her button.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, this month is a perfect month with the specials that we have to just sit there and work on it. If you can't get your whole kit, this month, which I think you can easily do by just going ahead and going for it. If you can't get your whole kit this month, you can still, end up qualifying for one or the other of the wonderful freebies. And then that also makes it part of your kit. So that's wonderful because the Breathe deal is, really good. You got that 100 PV level and you got the 200 PV level. So it's a perfect time to get all equipped for your activities and get it all set and then get your reward, which who doesn't want that, right?
Well,
so
and the Melissa.
Perfect.
the Melissa too is such a great tool to have for so many things. I think the only thing that I include in mine that you didn't cover, which I guess it's a little bit different because it's not necessarily like you've fallen and have an injury of some sort, but I always keep a bottle of even pre-made Flume, because you never know when that first tickle will occur. You guys have all heard the story a million times of me making Flume pills in line at the Avatar Flight of Passage in Disney World, but by the time we got done with the ride, he was happy and healthy, and you know, we dodged a bullet. But to have something, you know, you don't know, somebody starts going down, to have it right there at the beginning is helpful. So and also sometimes just to help keep everything else that gets kind of happens after an injury, you know, all of your, you kind of become vulnerable. And then Leslie is saying that she likes to have the morphine bomb in a little dropper to kind of maybe give that meaning, morphine bomb meaning marjoram, lemongrass, copaiba, you know, frankincense
Right.
in there, so that, and you have a little dropper for it. Oh, unmute so we can hear your story.
Once upon a time.
Yeah, right.
I think I got these from Holistic Oils.
Oh,
And they're just the really super little droppers, but these also fit well in the little hard case first aid kit or the keychain in there.
nice.
So pretty cute. So I have a morphine bomb and then some veggie caps. And then we also have a Flume with veggie caps as well.
Oh, I like that with the
Great
dropper.
idea.
Yeah.
You can be super fast. Boom, swallow it.
Open up.
This was an amazing class, guys. I thank you so much. I'm inspired to replenish and restore mine. And Diana, that was a great point. This month, all those different breathe products that we can get, and the respiratory health products, and then the Melissa, and then if you guys don't know about that immunity kit, the immunity wellness kit, there's a ton of tools in there that transfer over into what, you know, the all of the tips that Susan shared with us today. But go ahead, yeah, Miss Leslie.
I just wanted to ask a general question because we are now consistently on the go. And so my go bag is changing on a constant basis. And I'm finding that I'm not having things that I need. So just a quick run around the room. When you leave the house, what's in your purse, your go bag? Like, what do you have in there?
Oh, that's a whole workshop, honey.
Okay, like the
We
top
should
three
do
things.
that, kind of like we did the veggie palooza. We should
Yeah.
do a go bag palooza.
Or what's in our LRP? Well, I'll give you a hint. Tammy, go grab that little Aztec bag of yours, that little zipper bag that has about 4,000 oils in it, and show her what you carry in your bag. I love, look, she's got it right there next to her desk. I love little bags. And the reason I like little bags is because for me, it helps me keep things separate and organized by the need, right? I have all my emotional oils in one little thing, all of my first aid kit stuff in another thing, all of my, you know, regular life oils, you know, in another thing. And that way I know what to grab. Otherwise I get like overwhelmed. But Tammy has this one, look at her, she's pulling them all out. I carry a lot of oils with me. I really do. I've learned to downsize my 10 mil roller balls to 5 mil roller balls for ease. But I guarantee, Susan, what are you carrying in your bag?
Well,
it's her 4,000 bags out. I knew she would have them right there. That was perfect. Go ahead.
I travel pretty light on a day-to-day basis. I usually have my headache roller, an allergy blend, and my happy blend in one small case that kind of hooks onto my purse. And then I have the sample drams that I have basically it's mostly the top 10 kit with a couple of exceptions. I have a little helichrysum in there and a copaiba, so that I've got my Franken copaiba if you know migraine symptoms start, and I always have a little dram of helichrysum in there for all the reasons we already talked about, and usually a Band-Aid too stuck in there, or a couple. But I think those got taken. I don't think there's one in there right now.
Oh, buddy. All right, Tammy.
Go.
Okay, so
I'm gonna go
so,
off gallery.
first of all, I love doTERRA's backpacks because they're so roomy. See, I even have my On Guard hanging on here, and I've got more oil stuffed in there. But I actually stopped using this one because it kind of tore a little bit. But so that I keep this at my desk because it's pretty and it looks good. But I really have I have a roller. Whoops, my roller balls aren't in the thing. So I have all my rollers in this, and I carry, jasmine, helichrysum touch, Melaleuca, On Guard, clary, palm, past, and breathe. Is it? No, frankincense is in this one. So this is kind of like my little roller ball when it's kind of wearing out, because even the little things that hold the balls in are getting stretchy. So I gotta buy some more bags pretty soon. Then I do have this one, which is really nice. It's got like the little hearts on it. And this one is packed full. And I actually have a Ziploc bag because when you fly on the plane, they want to know that everything fits in the quart bag. So I keep an empty quart bag so I can show them, yes, indeed, all of this will fit in a quart bag, right? Because, sometimes TSA does that. And in here, I have a lot of the 5 mLs, but I do have, like Airx isn't in a 5 ml, and my lemon, I use a lot of that. So, and ginger. So that keeps full. And then I also carry Deep Blue Rub.
Yep.
That. And then I have this bag. This was from a men's kit, shaving
like a dot kit. Yeah.
a dot kit. And I love this one because this is my sample bag. So I always have samples that I can give out when I talk to somebody. So I have all of the drop samples. I have the rub, the Deep Blue Rub. I have toothpaste. I have the hand wipey things. And then over here on this side, I keep little vials. And then I have my my little booklets, pen and cards so that I can write that down. So this is what I have with me all the time with my backpack. Now I also have the little, the smaller first aid one that I keep, but it's in my golf bag right now because I've been golfing. I joined a women's golf team, and so I golf every week. And so I like to have that with all my oils in my golf bag. So
yeah. I mean, I found that when I first, like when we would go to co-op and stuff like that, can you guys hear me? I feel like it's switching. Okay, sorry.
Good.
When I would go to co-op for like the kids stuff, or, the kids were doing ninja gym, or we had dance class, or, all those things that we were running out and about for, I slowly started to realize, oh, I need that oil. And I would add it to my bag,
Right.
Until I really reached this point of like, this is really the great tools that I want to have and that I need to have, which those are kind of two different things. And then I started to organize them in smaller little zipper bags because I didn't like digging around and having them flopping about. To me, it just made it super simple. So maybe start there with, like, every time you realize you need something and you don't have it, of the things that aren't obvious to you that you don't already have in your bag, add that. And then you can start finding bags and little organizers that help to keep it so that you have it handy and it's not crazy. I mean, I can carry a small, cute purse and still have a tremendous amount of oils in it.
Yeah. Okay. Because I have this little one that I got off of Marketplace that I really like. And this is, but I find that I'm just taking out and putting in and taking out and putting in. So I'm thinking I just need to keep putting in. And then also this little pill container, I definitely don't leave without.
Something that people are going to realize now that we're leaving the house again after a year plus is that you do need 2 sets of things.
Yes.
Whether you just cut a bottle in half, you know what I mean, and separate it into 2. If you're having to get home and everybody's purging your go bag for the oils they need in the house, and then you're trying to find them to put back in your go bag, oh no, don't do that. That is a nightmare of stress, because you're never going to know where anything is. Or when you leave the house, I mean, I've had this happen where my kids have called me and been like, you took the correct X and I got a boo-boo. And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously, I need one with me. The set that's at home stays at home. You don't necessarily have to buy 2, the correct X you do, but other stuff, but just separate it. Otherwise it's a pain, right? I mean,
I want to share another little tip that I have in my bag because I reached in and got it out. So I have another little container. And what I did is I don't know if you can see this, I took an HD clear foaming face wash and I undid the top, and I have an On Guard hand wash in there. And so it foams so I can wash my hands. And then I had a little bit of a lotion. I like, to keep a small lotion.
Oh, that is
So.
Cool.
So you got all levels of prep going on. Or you can just take Susan's entire first aid kit over your shoulder.
Every
Oh,
day.
no, I just ordered one. I just ordered one
Backpack.
because
How
we have
much
to have
was
it
it?
for our RV. So
How much was it, Tammy?
It's $29.99.
Oh, the
for the
big
big one, and it comes with
Comes with a
for the
ton
big
of
bag,
stuff.
and it comes. It has like all sorts of stuff in it. So
Yeah.
I just ordered
Very
it.
cool.
Tax shipping, it's gonna charge me, $8.
Oil Life? It was Oil Life, correct?
Oil Life.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So very cool. Well, okay, we've kept everyone, we've gone. See, Susan did such a good job. She finished, and then but you know what? I love all these
The
questions.
chatting is voluntary, as long as the content, is
How much good information comes through the questions and
exactly.
answers.
And sharing.
I
Right.
wait for the end on all of these because it's so good. But thank you so much. I'm
Absolutely
all pumped
welcome.
up. I can't wait to now have, you guys wonder why I'm obsessed with little bags. This is why. It's because I love having them all in their little houses, and I love knowing where they are. I mean, face it, they all look alike, and I'm not good at the lid stickers, so I need my little bags. But now I'm excited to get my first aid kit put back together, and hopefully somebody will fall down and I'll get to use it. Just kidding, but not really, but maybe. Okay. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you. Absolutely. My pleasure.
You're amazing.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you guys tomorrow for
Wonderful.
Q&A. Bye.
See you then.